Canada does not have more coastline than the rest of the world combined. That claim is everywhere, and it comes from measuring one country carefully and everywhere else carelessly. Fifth is Australia, with 34,000 kilometers of coast. It is the only country on this list with no land neighbors at all, which makes it a useful place to explain how these numbers were produced. Every boundary on a map is either shared with another country, or it is not. Shared, it is a land border. Unshared, the other side of it is the sea. Australia's is all coast, and it was measured directly off the map file. On a coarser version of that map, it comes to 17,000 kilometers. The same coastline, half the length, hold on to that. Most Australians live within 50 kilometers of it. Fourth is Indonesia, with 52,000 kilometers. More coast than Australia, on less than a quarter of the land. Because Indonesia is not one shape, it is more than 17,000 islands. And coastline does not scale with size, it scales with how broken up you are. A single round country of the same area would have a fraction of this. An archipelago is almost entirely edge, which is the first clue about why Canada wins, and it is not because Canada is big. Only about 6,000 of those islands have anyone living on them. Plenty of countries are big. The rest are edge and nothing else. Third, the United States, with 68,000 kilometers. Almost all of that is Alaska. Alaska has more coastline than every other American state put together. The Aleutian chain runs nearly 2,000 kilometers out into the Pacific. And the southeastern panhandle is fjord after fjord after fjord. Now look at what happens when the map gets finer. On the coarsest map, the United States has 19,000 kilometers of coast. On the finest, 68,000, 3.5 times as much. That is the largest jump of any country here, and it happens for a specific reason. A coarse map draws Alaska as a blob, a fine one draws the fjords. The detail was always there, the map just was not looking. And there is one more thing about Alaska worth saying here. Second is Russia, with 76,000 kilometers. Nearly all of it faces the Arctic Ocean, frozen for much of the year. Novaya Zemlya, Severnaya Zemlya, the new Siberian islands. Russia is the largest country on Earth, by a very long way. It is nearly twice the area of Canada. And it has barely half of Canada's coastline. So whatever produces a long coastline, it is not being large. Russia is one enormous block of land with an edge around it. Because Russia used to own Alaska, and sold it in 1867 for $7.2 million. Which means most of America's coastline was bought from the country sitting one place above it. Every country on this list roughly doubles or triples between the two. Nothing about any of these coastlines changed. Russia's own figure moves too, 33,000 on the coarse map, 76 on the fine one. And Canada, 137,000 kilometers on this map. Nearly twice Russia's on half the land. The reason is the Arctic archipelago, north of the mainland. Something like 36,000 islands. 3 of the 10 largest islands on Earth are up there, and all 3 are Canadian. Now, the claim this video is named after. The CIA World Factbook gives Canada 202,000 kilometers of coast. And it gives the entire world about 356,000. Which would make Canada 57% of all the coastline there is. Here is the problem. Measured on the coarsest map in this video, the world has 358,000 kilometers of coast. Almost exactly the Factbook's world figure, but Canada, on that same map, is 45,000. Not 202. The two halves of that famous fact were measured on different maps. Measure every country the same way and Canada has about 15%. Still first and still nearly double second place. A coastline is not a length, it is a question about how closely you look. Coastlines measured from natural Earth boundaries at 3 resolutions.